you in Miami. Based on what you were seeing and hearing and, sometimes feeling, right, because there's an energy to these things, and you were there at your post in the spin room, what stood out to you with this very crowded field tonight as you were watching some of these really sort of substantive discussions and debate points really unfold?
Really substantive discussions, and some discussions kind of in the weeds, but important ones. All of the candidates were asked how they would get things through that they're proposing. We're talking about healthcare right now. We're talking about Medicare for all. They were asked, how do you get that through if you have a Republican, Mitch McConnell, in charge of the Senate? And they couldn't really answer that. And so they're talking about lots of these big ideas, but they weren't really clear on how they would get that through a divided Congress. I can say that the most interesting and contentious part of the night was when Julián Castro, the former HUD secretary, and Beto O'Rourke, the former congressman from El Paso, Texas, really got into it over the issue of immigration. At issue in particular is Julián Castro's support for repealing part of the immigration law that makes it a federal crime to cross the border illegally. He wants to repeal that.
And Caitlin, we have that bite, so let's go ahead and play that, and then we'll continue the conversation on the other side. Here's that exchange Caitlin described.
The reason that they're separating these little children from their families is that they're using Section 1325 of that act, which criminalizes coming across the border, to incarcerate the parents and then separate them. Some of us on this stage have called to end that section, to terminate it. Some, like Congressman O'Rourke, have not. And I want to challenge all of the candidates to do that. I just think it's a mistake, Beto. I think it's a mistake. And I think that if you truly want to change the system, then we got to repeal that section. If not, then it might as well be the same policy.
Let me respond to this very briefly. Actually, as a member of Congress, I helped to introduce legislation that would ensure that we don't criminalize those who are seeking asylum and refuge in this country. If you're fleeing desperation, then I want to make sure that you're treated with respect.
I'm still talking about everybody else.
But you're looking at just one small part of this. I'm talking about a comprehensive rewrite of our immigration laws.
That's not true.
And if we
So, Caitlin, explain for us the significance of that, because people who may not be familiar, it might sound very much in the weeds, but again, we've been talking about sort of the sense of values and philosophies here at issue, and this seemed to be a very big difference.
Absolutely. And these are two Texans who have proposed comprehensive immigration policies into this Democratic primary at a time that lots of Democrats haven't really focused on immigration. What's significant about this moment beyond the policy is that Julián Castro had really been looking for a breakout moment. Remember, he was considered a fast rising star in the party before this primary got underway. He gave the keynote address at the 2012 Democratic National Convention. But in this race, he has been pretty low down in the polls, hasn't really been able to gain traction. So his campaign really saw tonight as a way for him to break through. And I can say that after that exchange, his campaign manager and others from his team were walking around in the spin room talking to reporters already. They knew that that was kind of the moment that they needed, because it not only, in their view, allowed Castro to flex his policy muscle, but also allowed him to have a moment. And remember, this is such a crowded stage. It's a very crowded field. Every minute counts. All of these candidates, you heard them trying to break through and make some.
Oh, Caitlin, are you with us?